Let's go Dolphins! The Miami Dolphins are about to experience one of the most dramatic and unpredictable off-seasons in franchise history. We're not just talking about a coaching change or some roster alterations. We're talking about the potential end of the Tua era, the shocking possibility of parting ways with star Tyreek Hill, and a complete roster overhaul that could leave fans bewildered. I'll break it all down for you, including the general manager's bold new vision, the controversial quarterback strategy, and the unexpected names being targeted in free agency and the draft. But before we dive into this explosive plan, give this a like if you're a true Dolphins fan who's followed the team's ups and downs. And tell me in the comments, do you believe this team has the courage to deconstruct everything and build a future championship? Just type, "Go Dolphins! We can reach the Super Bowl." Come on, because what I'm about to reveal could completely change everything you thought you knew about this team's future. First, the top candidate to replace Mike Mcdaniel is no one other than John Harbaugh. That's right, a proven winner, a Super Bowl champion, a coach of the year. This is the dream scenario for Miami, and there's a clear logic behind it. Harbaugh might not have made it over the hump with Lamar Jackson lately, but his resume speaks volumes: career 60.8% win rate, a ring, and consistent competitive teams. The catch? It's not likely. The New York Giants are pushing hard for him and seem to have the edge in the pitch. So while Harbaugh is the dream, he might be out of reach. Enter option number 2, Robert Saleh, the current defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers and former Jets head coach. And listen, this is where it gets interesting. Saleh may have had a rough go with the Jets, finishing 20-36 over his tenure, but the defensive turnaround he orchestrated was legit. From worst in the league to top 5 in defense, that's not luck, that's coaching. He's a motivator, a guy whose players want to play for him, and most importantly, he knows how to build a defense. But it comes with baggage. The offense under Saleh in New York was a disaster, partly due to bad QB play, partly due to poor coordinator hires. If Miami does pull the trigger on Saleh, they absolutely must land a top-tier offensive coordinator to avoid a repeat of those struggles. And speaking of quarterbacks, we're headed into nuclear territory. The next part of the plan? Cutting ties with Tua Tagovailoa. The Dolphins are done. The question is no longer if, it's how. Cutting Tua before June 1st would result in a historic $99.2 million dead cap hit, asterisk the biggest in NFL history star. But the long-term gain? Huge. Miami would open up a stunning $32 million more in 2027 cap space if they heed the pain now. And let's be real, the 2026 season isn't shaping up to be competitive anyway. This franchise is focused on 2027, and clearing the books now could be the smartest painful move they make. But Tua's not the only veteran on the chopping block. The plan suggests a full reset, and several big names could follow him out the door. Tyreek Hill, post-June 1st cut, $36 million in savings. Bradley Chubb, $20.2 million saved with a similar designation. Austin Jackson, Jason Sanders, Alec Ingold, these are all candidates to be released. The numbers are eye-opening. If the Dolphins were to make all these moves, they'd have $19.2 million in cap space even after absorbing Tua's dead money. That's not a lot, but it's workable, especially if you pair it with strategic extensions and smart contracts. And this brings us to quarterback options. One name that keeps coming up, Malik Willis. There's a connection here. John Eric Sullivan, the new GM, came from Green Bay, where Willis is currently a backup. A one-year, $12 million deal is being floated as a possibility, and it makes sense. It's the same type of contract that gave Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones new opportunities. But if Willis doesn't come, there's a trade option being considered, Mac Jones. That's right, the backup in San Francisco. He's got 1 year left on his deal, and you could likely get him for a 4th-round pick. He's cheap, he's serviceable, and depending on who ends up calling plays in Miami, he might be a perfect bridge QB. Now here's where it gets spicy, free agency and the draft. Given the financial situation, Miami has no choice but to bargain shop. And there are some interesting names floating out there. Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Naylor, Larry Borum, and Greg Dulcich on offense. On defense, names like Eric Stokes and Enigbari from Green Bay, Samson Ebukam, and Rasul Douglas make sense, familiar faces to Sullivan. These aren't splashy moves, but they're exactly the kind of low-cost, high-upside signings a rebuilding team needs. In the draft, it's all about value. Miami owns the 11th pick, and unless you're talking about running back, where they're stacked, the strategy is simple. Take the best player available. That might be Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, or someone else who drops into Miami's lap. The key here is not just adding talent. It's about adding cheap talent to fill out a roster that's being gutted. And trading down? Totally on the table. More picks means more shots to hit on future stars, and with Miami focusing everything on a 2027 window, draft capital is king. This is a full reset. It's brutal, it's strategic, and it's all about building a contender 2 years from now. No more short-term patch jobs. Miami's looking long-term. $100 million in cap space and a new identity are on the horizon, but it all starts now. Let's break it down. If the Dolphins move on from Tua before June 1st, yes, it sets a new league record for dead cap. But the flip side is a 2027 war chest. That means having the kind of cap flexibility to go out and buy talent the way contending teams do. Imagine starting the 2027 offseason with over $100 million in cap space, a new head coach already in place with a system ready to fire, and a loaded draft class. That's not rebuilding, that's reloading with intention. Now, this won't be pretty. Dolphins fans have to brace themselves. 2026 might be a 5-win season at best. But every decision the front office is about to make will be made with an eye on long-term power moves. That's why someone like Robert Saleh makes sense, not because he's going to come in and win now, but because he can install a hard-nosed, defensive identity that Miami can build around. And if paired with a creative offensive coordinator who can develop a young quarterback, suddenly you're cooking with gas. And that's where the Malik Willis or Mac Jones plan comes in. These are bridge QBs. They're not the future, they're the stopgap. The future might still be in college right now. But giving a guy like Willis a 1-year prove-it deal or trading for Jones gives Miami stability while they stockpile draft picks, evaluate young talent, and build a new culture. This isn't about winning the AFC East in 2026. This is about being unmatched in 2027 and beyond. Let's not forget the impact of John Eric Sullivan here. His Green Bay roots are going to influence this roster heavily. You'll see names pop up in free agency that most fans aren't familiar with, but Sullivan is. Guys like Eric Stokes, Kingsley Enagbare, even depth pieces from that Green Bay system are on the radar. Why? Because they're cheap, they fit the scheme, and they're hungry to prove themselves. That's the kind of energy this new Dolphins regime wants on the roster. And on offense, look for value additions. Kendrick Bourne becomes a no-brainer if Mac Jones is the quarterback. Their chemistry is already built. Same with Larry Borom and Braxton Jones, both offensive linemen who could stabilize the trenches without breaking the bank. If Sullivan wants to establish a physical identity, that starts with the line of scrimmage. You don't build dominance with finesse, you build it with grit, power, and execution. Let's talk draft again. If the Dolphins do decide to trade down from the 11th pick, it would be a genius move, not because they don't value elite talent, but because they need quantity as much as quality. Trading down adds extra picks, maybe even a second rounder this year or next. With multiple picks in the mid-rounds, you can swing big on upside guys, players who might not be day-one starters but could become studs in a year or two. This is all about timing. You don't need these rookies to be stars in 2026. You need them to be stars in 2027. And here's something else to watch closely, re-signing or extending the right guys. Players who show promise under the new coaching staff, especially younger, cheaper ones, could get extended before they hit the market. That locks in talent at value prices. It's exactly what smart organizations do when they're building toward a championship window. Let's not sugarcoat this, though. Losing names like Tua and Tyreek hurts. These are faces of the franchise. But this new Dolphins regime isn't in the business of nostalgia, they're in the business of winning. Tyreek's cap hit is massive. If Miami doesn't see him as part of the 2027 core, it makes sense to move on. Same with Bradley Chubb, Jason Sanders, and Austin Jackson. This is a roster reset, plain and simple. And that reset extends to the locker room. With a new head coach and GM, expect a cultural shift. The Dolphins want leaders who buy in, players who grind, veterans who mentor. That's why guys like Kendrick Bourne, who are known for their work ethic and locker room presence, are on the radar. This team is going back to the basics, and that's exactly what it needs. So here we are. It's January, and the Dolphins have already made the first big move with the hiring of GM John Eric Sullivan. Next comes the head coach, then the cuts, then the new signings, then the draft. Every move calculated, every dollar accounted for, every decision made with one thing in mind, making 2027 the year Miami makes its Super Bowl push. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you ready for this rebuild? Do you believe in a long-term plan that sacrifices 2026 to go all in on 2027? Drop a comment, hit that like button if you're riding with the Dolphins no matter what, and don't forget to subscribe for daily updates. We've got videos breaking down free agency targets, coaching candidates, draft prospects, and more popping up on the screen right now. Click one and dive deeper. Go Dolphins!